Okay, now the big corporate story of the day, CBS, another casualty to the sexual harassment claims. Les Moonves at CBS is out. Charlie Gasparino's been all over this story. He's broken a lot of the news and did so again this past weekend. Joins us now in the studio.
I got to do my Trump imitation.
No, you don't.
The greatest economy in a gajillion years.
That's right.
Forget about 100.
Thank you, Charlie.
Unemployment is lower than GDP for the first time in a gajillion years.
He'll be accepting your tweets at C. Gasparino on Twitter. I can't control it.
Gajillion, billion, zillion.
All right, come on. Let's move this. He's going out. There's a package. What's going on here in terms of compensation?
Well, you know, they just made the filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission that gives out the details. It's very interesting. It's all dependent on, as we reported yesterday on Fox News, that it's all dependent on the outcome of the sexual harassment investigation. Okay. If they find that he's didn't do any of this stuff that they're investigating, or they found that whatever he did was in the past, maybe
he gets his 100 mil.
120.
Really?
Yeah. Get as much as 120 plus perks, office, driver, blah, blah, blah. If they find that he did some stuff, it starts going down dramatically. It could go to zero. It's all dependent on that investigation, and it's by the way, you should go to the. It's very easy to find this. It's, I think, on the SEC website. You can get everything. Listen, there's two stories here. Obviously, there's one story that involves Les Moonves and his separation agreement. But again, go into that filing, and you'll see the other story, which we were reporting last week, which was essentially what is going to go on with CBS post Les Moonves. We know they hired, as we reported, they hired first, I think it was 2 weeks ago, they hired an executive search firm to find a permanent replacement. As we reported last week, there is, if you look in the documents, a 2-year standstill agreement between Shari Redstone, the controlling shareholder, and CBS.
Right.
What does that mean? That means for 2 years she cannot force that Viacom merger on CBS that she was initially proposed, that Les Moonves and his team were against, which is why they're in court right now. That court case obviously has been settled with all this. So they have 2 years essentially to shop themselves.
Okay.
And the question is, do they find a suitor? A lot of people say, well, let's think about it. AT&T is out because they're busy with Time Warner, right? Likely out. Yeah. Comcast is likely out because the federal government, absolutely, the Justice Department, Trump hates them, does not want them to get bigger, so I don't think they can buy CBS and pass regulatory muster. Then that leaves technology firms. Now, here's the interesting thing. If Netscape doesn't want to buy, Netflix, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Netscape would be back
I'm really dating myself with that. If Netflix doesn't want to buy them, if Amazon doesn't want to buy them, if Apple doesn't want to buy them,
of course.
What is CBS left to do in the next 2 years? Because they're obviously going to shop themselves.
And is that what the next leader is being brought in to do? Is to kind of clean up, not clean up, but make the company
sell it?
Yes.
Or he may be forced to merge with Viacom as Rich Greenfield of BTIG.
2 years down the line.
If he can't find a suitor. You know, I spoke at length with Rich about this, and he had a good read, and he is one of the few analysts that was not sucking up to CBS. And, you know, the analysts on this company were pathetic. You know, that last analyst call where they didn't even ask about succession, when obviously that's one of the biggest things affecting the stock.
I remember, and
it was horrible.
Reported on it at the time.
Rich wasn't there, so Rich has a good call on this, and he said he doesn't think there's much appetite from tech for content like CBS.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks.
There's so many stories written about that. Everybody's speculating that that's the next.
Speculating.
Doesn't make sense.
He believes that the tech ship has sailed. These major tech firms, and you can look at what they're doing. They're creating their own content. Yes. They don't want to buy old line content, and that really the right move would be for CBS and Viacom to team up and find some synergies, and maybe that would be a more attractive package for someone else down the road.
Something Moonves had been saying, no way.
That's what he says, and like I said, Rich has got a good read on that. So that's what it is here. It's two stories. There's the Les Moonves story. We're going to find out what this internal investigation says about the allegations. A lot of them were in the New Yorker and over the last couple of months, and then we're going to find out. Then there's the corporate story about CBS. We should look at the stock today.
Well, you know, you had an interesting.
I mean, it was up last week when we reported about the standstill agreement.
Right.
Literally, the shares spiked about $2.
I think it's down by 2.5% today. So you had I believe it was a tweet earlier, but you mentioned the same analyst, Rich, that you'd been talking about a moment ago with
Rich Greenfield.
The illusion of financial strength at CBS, because people for years have been saying that Moonves had really been running a successful company here, that this is the highest rated network and all the rest of it. What does that mean, the illusion of financial
here's the thing.
strength?
When you speak to a lot of people that are involved in modern media technology and what's going on with cord cutting, they would say Les Moonves was what made him a great CEO was the sort of Svengali act he pulled on the Wall Street analyst. That CBS, Philippe Dumont, who ran Viacom and was forced out because it just wasn't doing well. Yeah. He couldn't do what Les did, which was sort of paper over the immense problems that CBS faces. It's an old line media company. It's going to be affected by cord cutting, right. and the writing is on the wall.
Like everybody.
And they're going to have to renegotiate their NFL contracts because the NFL is being affected by cord cutting. This is not the earnings machine, and it's about to hit the wall at some point. You talk to Rich, you talk to some other people that are really smart, that understand new media and what's going on with the cable business and content and distribution. Right. CBS is in for some problems.
So it's a tougher job than you think.
Viacom happened first. Yep. They had weaker properties. This one will happen next. So now into that sort of headwind, you have to sell the company, right? And that becomes an issue. Can you sell it into that headwind? Is Apple, for example, one of the potential bidders? Is Apple, right. Netflix, Amazon? Are they going to say, why do we want this? Why should we buy this? They're going to say, should we buy this old line media company, which is going to be affected by cord cutting, when much cheaper we can create our own content?
Which they are, most if not all of them, especially Netflix.
Now,
and
CBS
Amazon and Apple are doing already.
Let's be real clear. CBS has a huge cachet. I mean, its news division is one of the premier news divisions. 60 Minutes. It's got great entertainment shows. It still has good shows. I don't watch them, but I read somewhere
compared to other broadcast networks. Right. They've done very well.
But they're all being hit by this. Remember,
no, everybody is. Everybody in this business is being hit by that and has been, and now it's for real. We'll come back to you later, but thanks.